BBN, Jack Roast. What's up, party people? All right, so today we sit here with Marquee Poole. He is the coach of the Hostos Community College basketball team. What's the name of your team, by the way?
Our name of our team is the Hostos Caymans. I'm the head men's basketball coach.
Okay, real quick, how long you been coaching here?
I've been coaching here for about 6 years. It's been a great run. I started as an assistant, and I stayed probably about a month and a half. I got a promotion at my job. I had to walk away, and then they called me back about 8 months later, asked me if I was interested in being a head coach, and I decided to come in and take a shot at it.
Okay, so wait, how many years you said again?
6.
All right, so you've been here for a while, and I'm looking at your walls. I see you won two awards. It's not the big award yet, but two awards. Do you mind speaking on them?
Well, actually, I won 3. I won 3 Coach of the Year awards.
Salute.
2014-15, 2015-16, and 2018-19, which was last season. I got some big shoes to fill, especially at Hostos. They won a national championship with the men in 2005, and I was with Coach Rob Holford, Eric Fogel, the late great Eric Fogel, and a bunch of other great people. And then 2007, they went to the national tournament under Coach Roy Beekman, and I came in later on and took us back to nationals, won a regional championship, and then got to the national tournament. We placed 5th in the nation. So we working. It's a work in progress, man, and it's always an opportunity to try to get back.
That now that you talk about opportunity to give back, if I'm correctly, what were you before you were this? If you don't mind me asking.
So before I started coaching, I was a juvenile case manager. I was working as a juvenile case manager for 14 years. I'm currently the assistant athletic director here at Hostos as well as the head coach. But for 14 years, I worked at a juvenile facility, and in that capacity, I was part of the day-to-day operations. I was supervised on duty, overseeing the property, making sure that all 250 kids were accounted for at all times. Anybody who ran away, or we call it AWOL, we had to put out an arrest warrant for them. I was a part of going to homes, picking them up, and to bring them back, and attending court, going through intake, through the process of accepting, residents to be a part of that program and kind of
So
rehabilitate.
you've been really like hands on, like throughout the duration of your professional career. Like the jobs that
Yeah,
you've had have usually been dealing with kids.
yeah, yes. So most of the jobs I've had has always been working with youth and helping them reintegrate into the community, or like here in college, giving those guys a second chance to get back to the level of play that they're capable of getting to. Um, so just trying to change lives and give opportunity.
With that being said, something I want to speak about real quick. As far as I know, and you don't have to go into in depth conversation about this, but as far as I know, you grew up in Harlem, or you have
Right. I grew up in
roots.
Harlem. I was born and raised. I was born at Harlem Hospital.
Hmm.
Grew up in Manhattanville and Grant and 150th and Amsterdam and Morning 21st and Morningside. We moved around a lot. It was just part of growing up, but heavily rooted in Harlem.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question, and I know that this might not be necessarily, but I need to ask this question. So recently, a certain individual has came out, and there was a interview actually that was shot about a year ago that they dropped some of the interview as of recent. The person is Alpo, that's the person.
Mm.
So they dropped one of his interviews that he had did where he was speaking about certain obvious illegal things because that's what he was involved in. And he also had the, I don't know if you want to call it nerve or audacity to bring individuals right to where he says that he dumped Rich Porter's body, all of this other type of craziness. Personally, I think that this is not necessarily something that should be on. He shouldn't be able to make money
Mm.
off of this type
I'll
of
capitalize
shenanigans.
off of that.
Yes, could you mind giving me your opinion on this?
My opinion on that is, growing up in Harlem, especially as a young kid, it's that during that era, things were glorified. You had a bunch of different crews in different places. Um, my aunt was married to Rich's best friend, man, like his brother.
And that's
That's Az. They have a daughter together, and I know that that time for everyone, you know, that time frame, man, was just really, really heart aching. Why? Because he was just loved. Rich was loved by everybody, and you know, even later on in A's life when he married Fina, he, they, he still wore that pain. That was before the movie Paid in Full, man. So, um, him coming out and indicating, exactly what happened, I think kind of gives closure. The closure it gives is to a lot of people trying to figure out how and why and when.
mm.
Um, you know, Now I remember that time period vividly. Um, me as a kid, my mom didn't want me to go to 125th Street to the McDonald's, if you recall that. So, and
For everybody that don't know, the reason why is because that's where everybody used to be at when they used to have their cars and everything, and they used to pull up. There used to be
no,
another.
that was Willieburg.
That's what I was just about to say.
125th was where the finger of the Rich's brother was found. It was found at the McDonald's underneath
Copy.
the sink in the bathroom.
So after that happened was when she
Yeah,
didn't
that's
want
when
you.
parents was like, "Hey, man, we're not going over." So it was just a tough time. So my opinion on it is, I think the code of the street kind of changed a little bit. Um, People are trying to make sure that they do whatever they can to come back home to their families.
Mm.
Doesn't mean that it's okay. No, I'm not saying that. I agree with it. I don't, to each his own. I think that's just a real touchy situation, man. And and it's kind of why I kind of stayed away from that lifestyle. I had some family members that made different choices. I have family members that will probably never see their parents ever again. Doing life, especially I was involved during that time. But I think this is a reality that we all kind of live in, and that reality is just knowing that we always one decision away from being on that other side.
That's a whole fact.
You know?
And not just that, but we also have to take into consideration the people in our lives and how they might be affected by our decisions also, right?
Right, absolutely.
So now you was working with the kids. Obviously, you decided you was gonna take your life in a whole different direction, and salute to that, by the way.
Right.
So as far as with what they're doing with the NCAA now, I want to ask you a question revolving the NCAA specifically.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure you might not be able to touch this, but now they're trying to change the law so that the kids will be able to benefit.
Athletes can get some type of compensation. I mean, I played Division I basketball at St. Bonaventure University. I'm right here. I went to All Hallows High School in the Bronx, and graduated from there behind some great people that attended there. What I will say is that my daughter right now is one of the top players in the nation. She was just recently as low as number 10 in the country. We just decided to commit to Ohio State, so she'll be attending Ohio State on a full ride. And as any parent, man, that's the only thing you can ask for when you putting yourself in this situation. Becoming a professional player is many years after you go to college. The biggest perspective is going to college for free, and having your kid not have to be in debt to do so, and you as well. But I think that right now, having a kid that's going to be going to college and have an opportunity for her to make money off of marketing herself or the school marketing her. I remember when I was in college and jerseys were being sold and it didn't have our name on it, but it had our number on it. I remember being in the video game in NCAA basketball, whether it was 98, 97, 98, 99, 2000, and you playing with you playing as your own character, like you're picking yourself, but you won't be able to compensate off of it. So now things have changed. I think things become a lot more realistic. Um, and I think it's an opportunity for them to make some type of money, especially while they're in college. Because who's to say there's no guarantee they're gonna go pro?
That's a whole fact. Don't let nobody tell you different. There's really no guarantee basically about what's going to happen other than what's actually happening. Nobody can tell what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
So basically, kids being able to go to school on somebody else's dime, that benefits the whole entire family outcome.
So let's look at it, right? Let's think about it like this. How many people? Kwame Brown came out #1 player in the country. All right, he was a #1 draft pick, and he only lasted a few years. But if he had been able to get paid while he was in college during that time back then, he probably would have stayed all 4 years.
That's a fact.
Right? Or he was coming out of high school, he probably would have gone. Especially because the end all be all is we want to get a degree.
That's
you know,
a fact.
like, I mean, realistically, when you look at it, um, there's no guarantee for you to go pro. You get hurt. Look at Zion, his first game, first big game, NCAA Duke versus UNC. He his shoe breaks.
Oh yeah.
What happens if he was about to go and he went out for a few games? What happens if what happened just now in the NBA in his first couple months, he tears his meniscus? So fortunately, we knew he was the GOAT. We knew he was the next one out of college. But if that would have went to where? It would have all been for nothing. He goes to college, he can't get one coin. Say his injury is way worse than just his shoe breaking. Then what happens? So if there's an opportunity for kids to get some type of compensation, it doesn't have to be millions, it could be something. In addition to, the hard work that they're going to put in, I think that it's something that they should look at.
Okay, so I'm agreeing with you, by the way. But I think one of the biggest issues I have with the way that the rule was is that they can't receive anything. So I think
Right.
it's kind of totally different when you say, okay, we're not going to allow for you to benefit off of, whatever how we're benefiting off your name, but also to say that you can't go off on your own and then benefit by yourself. I think that's really the problem with the rule. Recently, there's a situation where I believe it's Anthony Hardaway is in trouble because they're saying that there's a player on his team, Memphis, that they're going to decide that it's not eligible to play because they're saying at some point Anthony Hardaway helped his family or something. I'm not getting all the way into it. But how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think that's a little different. I think once you are on the campus and you're in school and you're working, because at the end of the day you're working, man. I felt like when I was in preseason 6 to 8 in the morning, and I'm coming back for a weight room, and then I got the study hall, and then after study hall I had practice. When everybody else goes home for spring break and everybody goes home for winter recess and all those things, like when there's no school from December until second semester, which is normally like the end of January. But you as an athlete, you're gonna miss Thanksgiving, you're gonna miss Christmas, you're gonna miss New Year's with your family, you're gonna miss your birthday, probably your mother's birthday. You're gonna miss a lot. You might miss your child's birth.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler just was about to miss a game for his child's birth, and the coach and the NBA was like, "No, I would never even live with myself if I did that for myself." So reality is, you know, you give up and you sacrifice a lot. The one thing we can't get back is time.
That's a fact.
You can't put value on my time. Like, I mean, we work 8 hours a day. We get paid for that time. But realistically, those 8 hours, you're not with your family. You got a baby. You got whatever it is you got. You're not with them. So, and in all reality, I think that when you're sacrificing and you're on campus and you're putting in those hours and you're putting in that work and you're getting the education paid for, but you're also giving a lot. So you're sacrificing a lot. So compensation is good. I don't necessarily agree with somebody being taken care of if it was something outside of when they attended the school, but when they're in the school, making sure that they receive all the needs that they have or they require, then that's fine. That's kind of my take on it. I mean, I'm also the compliance officer here.
Mm.
at this college. So, it gets really, really touchy with certain things. It's funny we can't even make copies for the student athletes sometimes, but they might not even have 10 cents to make a copy.
Mm.
So, it's just twofold on how it works.
All right. Just move a little bit in a different direction, just so we could get like a better understanding. All right. So earlier you said something about the way that the culture in the streets has changed in contrast with when you
Right.
were coming up, and the way it is now. And I believe that you was making a reference to the fact that Alpo could come out and speak about, his snitching, and everybody is basically like, well, we don't care, and he's just moving about. So this is the question that I want to ask. I'm assuming that you've been a little bit apprised of the Takashi 6ix9ine situation.
Right.
Okay, so for what you know currently about that situation,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about Takashi getting on the stand and
I mean, it's funny. Like, growing up, I had a mom and a dad, and then they separated, and my then I had my stepfather. He came into our life, and our stepfather, he was, more into that lifestyle, that street lifestyle, um, and back then he had certain rules. He was always like, protect your brother, you protect your mother. If you get into a situation, if one fight, we all fight. Don't come in this house, and if one person is hurt and you come in this house and the other person not hurt, then you going, I'm gonna get you. If you get into that stage where you have to pull out a weapon, if you pull it out, you got to use it. Just the basic principles. He also told me that, he went and did some prison time, and he was like, listen, I did enough time for all of us, and the suckers are the one that's inside. We call them on the outside, the lawyers and all them suckers, but we are, because honestly, man, we leaving y'all to fend for yourselves. And this is having like 8, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. Um, so when I look at it now, it's like those principles that people, they're gone. Those, don't ask, don't tell. I think it's more of a, I gotta save my own self. That reality is, Takashi and all those other people who coming out, he just looked at it like, yo, you know what, man, I ain't going to jail for nobody else. And I think that it's sad in a sense, because you kind of create this fictional character, and you got a lot of kids who listen to this,
mm,
kind of hang on on people's words and so on. There's a song out right now by Casanova, man. It's called Jail Time, and
salute Casanova? Shout out to
yeah,
Casanova.
salute, man. I mean, and I think that was the realest song it kind of related to. Like the last person to write something like that was Beanie Siegel. We know about 23 and 1. You know what I'm saying? Like them little Debbies and them Chi-Chis making you sick. Like when you look at it, the reality is, man, that nobody want to sit up behind a G-Wall. Like nobody want to go into that gated community, man. Shout out to you, Casanova, because that gated community is different.
Mm,
Um, and there's no help in it. Like
mm.
I could send you commissary, but there's only but so many tuna fish sandwiches you gonna make, with oodles and noodles. When it get cold, you gotta go get thermals and all that stuff, whatnot, because you don't know where they gonna send you.
Mm.
Some people been different states, and the states that they've gone to, West Virginia, California, it seems like they send you further away to keep you away from your family, because we're not gonna make but one visit every 6, 7 months, if that.
Mm.
So getting back to it, man, not to get off topic, a person like Takashi, I think he had a great following. He felt like he could do more good getting out as opposed to the people that he put in.
Mm.
Um, you know,
That's actually a good point. I don't think nobody's
yeah,
I haven't heard anyone speak on that yet. That one of the reasons in which why they might be a little bit more lenient to him seeing him back out on the street is there's a better chance that he's going to use his celebrity to do something positive, or at least to give a message that they might want given,
yeah.
in contrast with the other individuals.
I mean, I don't. No matter what, people still want to listen to the music. I mean,
That's a fact.
look at R. Kelly, man. Right
I
now.
was somewhere the other day and they was playing his
Yeah,
music.
like I mean, I grew up on that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Mr. DJ, that was I probably was might have been I don't know. I might have, it's one of them. Those. No matter what, man, people are gonna listen to the person because they want to hear what they're gonna say. So same thing. People want to hear what Alpo gonna say.
It's a fact.
Why? Because he has a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? Like, he went from New York to DC and did it. The loose ends at the end. You can't really trust nobody. You gotta sleep one eye open in that lifestyle. That's kind of why I got into this, man. I didn't want to go into the street life only because I saw it only ended up dead in jail or at 50 years old, 40 years old, no medical insurance. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the money that you made, you got to pay on lawyers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the reality is, like, there's people that done it, man, and did well, and went into business and opened up something, man, and salute to them, and they dropped jewels to say, I had to do this, so you don't. To their kids, to their family members. Like I sacrifice for us, so you don't have to. And I think in life as a parent, man, you just whatever your reality is, that's what you're gonna kind of cater to. So like if I'm living in poverty and the only thing I see around me is somebody selling drugs every day, at some point I see they got sneakers, chain, they got the new bike if I'm young, you know what I'm saying, the new J's that just came out.
Well, not just that, but in order to add to what you're saying, also, they already know about this because they've already studied propaganda. And when I say they, I'm just talking about, just the powers that be in general.
Mm-hmm.
They already know about this because they already described, basically, they understand what propaganda is. For everybody that don't know, real quick, the first people to actually use propaganda in quite a sense to be able to really caused an uproar in the nation was the Germans. For everybody that don't know, a lot of the propaganda tools that are being used just in general today in media and in government or whatever was started by the Germans, perfected by the Russians, and now it's more of a global thing that everybody uses. Mm-hmm. Now, the point of which I want to say about that is when you have all the little kids back in the days watching the Lone Ranger, they all wanted to grow up to be the Lone Ranger because that's what they saw on an everyday basis. They saw the television show, or they listened to the radio show. Mm-hmm. So now we have our children, and they go outside, and their stars are now the pimps and the drug dealers and the hoes, and that's who they could see because that's who they could physically see more than positive role models.
Right, more than somebody who owns a company. Like where are you gonna see that person at? You don't. You gotta get an interview and hope that you get one. The people who are the ones that are quick to tell you what to do and what not to do. One is preachers, right? Your school teacher, your parent, and your brothers, or your sister, whoever you look up to. So if your brother's outside hustling, then you're gonna hustle too.
That's a fact.
If your sister's outside and she's dealing with the dude who got the bread, and she's the one that you hold you down, like that's what you're gonna kind of gravitate to. First thing your parents tell you is get out of my house, go outside, go to the park. And you go to that park, by the time I promise you, 4 years, 3 years later, you're gonna be like, I don't want you in that park no more. You know what I'm saying? Because it go from me being there with you, then I'm comfortable with you being there by yourself, and the next thing you know, smoking, drinking, sex, and things that come with it. I think the one avenue that's kind of open to everything is sports. Like, if you play sports, you got friends.
That's a fact.
If you play football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, you're gonna have a friend, and sometimes just one, and that'd be your best friend forever. But as you guys grow apart, I also learned that friends be the ones that can hurt you. That's Alpo, and the rich situation. Like it was so close to you. It's other stories that kind of, have the same context. It's like, I sat in a juvenile facility for a very long time. And, when I first got there, I was, I had to at 23 years old, tell parents how to raise their kid. I had to tell parents what their kid was thinking and what they should be doing differently. And at first they looked at me like, who are you and who do you think you are to tell me blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm the one that your kid listens to. Like, they listen to me. They don't listen to you. And it was a reality. I got out of it. I think, spiritually, people will say, oh, God made me do this. Like, I think that I got out of being a juvenile case manager, when the opportunity presented itself, I took a chance. Went out on a limb, and I was already coaching, so I had already been in the Hostos for a little bit. I felt like I could make more of a change working with kids who already wanted to go to college
Mm.
or just needed a little push as in instead of a kid who had to kind of really work my behind off to get them to just pass their GED.
Mm.
We had kids coming in with reading with a second grade reading level that was 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
And it's not just one. I had a kid come in, he's 17 years old in the ninth grade.
Wow.
And placement just helped him to catch up to his level. That kid, I can honestly say, is he went to college. He's working downtown as an armed security guard. You remember,
Okay.
you're a juvenile. You got a youthful offender plea, so you don't have an adult record. So yes, he has a fire guard. He has his firearm license at this stage. They have no idea, and they do have an idea of what he did when he was younger. His place was closed. So people do reintegrate. I just think that it's people, places, and things.
I was having a conversation on the channel the other day, and it basically revolved around there is that little kid that got into the double murder. He's 13 years old. He was part of a double murder with him and a 19-year-old kid, and basically, we was talking about it on the channel, and we said there's a good chance that they might give that kid a lot of years because if you give him, he's 13 years old now, right? And the discussion was if you give him 20 years now, right? When he come out, he would have lived more of his years in jail than outside of jail, and he's already doing so bad outside of jail. So what is the chance that he could be rehabilitated? And I think that often when they, because this is just the point that you're bringing. First of all, I think we should try to save all the kids.
Right.
Period. Let's just get that straight.
Right.
But also, I think that there's a certain amount of onus that has to be also put on the parents because a lot of these kids they go into school and there's not enough strong enough home. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and since the home isn't strong enough, the kids are easily influenced to go and do things that they know better than.
So I think it's it's the structure. At home is not as much structure. Um, if you want to know how a person is going to respond to you, whether they love you or care about you, you tell them no. When you tell a person no, a lot of times that's when you see their true colors. When you tell a person you can't do something, he'll tell you off. They might tell you to do some things that you wouldn't even expect. Um, I think that to kind of get to your question, it's exactly that, man. It's not knowing whether or not you're going to be able to be successful, man. How do you go about doing it? Who you watching? You get your parents can only give you but so much, and the rest you get from the streets. If you out there, the rest you get from your friends. More times than ever, especially me. We was at our friend's house, or your house was the house that your friends
Just came to. That's a whole fact.
So, and if that was it, like I know, my pop's home from jail, man. Everybody in the crib, we wilding, we chilling, we having a good time. I had a game. All of them was at my game. They had school the next day. None of them went. Like they didn't go to their school. I come home, they in the crib already.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I was with your pops all day. I'm like, oh, all right, but reality is, my when I look at it, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I have to do whatever I can to make sure that people understand and the people that play for me, to get them into college, give them that second chance. We call it a second chance you. You get another opportunity to get to where you want to go. I got people like Ken Stevens, who's the founder of Dykeman, and he's done amazing giving back to that community. 250 kids in their organization. He's an assistant coach here, and here's no, you're my assistant coach. Like we all head coaches because we family. We do it out of love. Like we really care about this. There's no number that you can put on junior college basketball because it's never going to meet the time. Never going to pan out. Speedy Williams, James Williams, who was a street ball legend, has done so much. He's here every day. We bring having people around John Wallace and Tiny Archibald and Sam Worthen and Jackie Knowles coming by and sitting kids. Like these are the people that Smush Parker. Like these are the people that we've had be around our kids here.
Salute to my cousin Jackie Knowles, by the way.
Jack, man, just different. I talk to people now. I'm like, hey, man, Jack did so much, man, especially opening up that PAL on Webster. Like, the little things, man, that people remember that changed their life. That little piece, man. And that's all I try to do, man. I just try to give, you know, I just try to play a small role in a bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to get you to graduate, get you to the level where you should be at. And right now I have about 4 or 5 of my former residents that were in placement, that was locked up, that's in school here right now. Got kids now, wanted to get back in school. I happened to see them, told them to come through, helped them through admissions, never went to college, got their GED later on in life. You know what I'm saying? Finished school and they're here now. We live for those moments. We live for those moments where you see someone else have that comeback story. And mine is being able to see that I didn't succumb to the things that was going on in my era, in my neighborhood. Looking at what people did and saying I didn't want to do that. But I also respecting it though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I respect your life, man. Like, you had to hustle, you had to grind, you had to get out there and do whatever it was as a female, male. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's you. And that's your life, man. That's your history and what you want to do with yourself. And me, I am not a judger, man. Like, whatever you had to do to get to where you needed to be in life, man, you did it. Straight up. You know what I'm saying? I guess I got family members that probably never see the light of day. And to be honest, man, if I had an opportunity to see one of them, I would love it. You know what I'm saying? If they had a chance to have freedom, you know what I'm saying? And I would love it. But at what expense? So, that you brought up the Alpo thing and looking at it, being from Harlem and knowing it, he got a chance at freedom. He probably never be able to live the life he lived. So you kind of like still in. You know what I'm saying? You're not the life you live where everybody loved you and so on, man. Like, you can't really go back to that. But as people, you evolve. You know what I'm saying? I read, shout out to to the Crack Era book that just came out, man. And
I was looking at that. Who's the author?
Well, you got oh man, Charles.
Oh yeah,
Tony Childs. His brother. I just went for a blank, man. I'm sorry about that, man.
Nah, you good? You good?
Came out, and he's telling his history, man. He did something amazing. I just went for a blank. I don't know how, but it'll come to me. I said shout out to that because he took a time period, man, in his life and showed you what you can do when you do get out. Don Diva and the Fez magazine, and just informed people, gave people footage to look at in there, and just inspiring, man.
I'm gonna tell you, this is just my opinion, and this is what I think is a part of the problem. People think that if in order to be gangster or in order to be a tough guy, you have to be ignorant. Right. I think people think that it's important that in order to be gangster and in order to be a tough guy, you have to be ignorant. And I think that's part of the problem. Like, even when you have individuals that's like, I've been there, I've done that, please, let's like try to steer the kids in a different direction. You got other people that's coming with all the shenanigans, and people just fall for it because they think that being ignorant is, a badge of honor.
I can't.
You're talking about Kevin Childs.
Kevin, yeah, Kevin. Yeah, I just. Yeah, I'm like,
you look so relieved.
I'm like, yo, man, I couldn't believe it. Like, all right, but so like you said, people become really, really naive and ignorant to, the realities out there. And the reality is, if you do your best to try to make sure that you're, you raising a person the right way, I think they'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to make sure you monitor their friends. Now, the difference is we live in a different era.
That's a fact.
The era that we live in right now is social media. Like,
That's
you can reach the masses in 2 seconds. I can write something and you'll know how many people actually pay attention to you.
That's a fact.
We on this segment right now. We don't know how many people actually pay attention. Who's this guy in the Bronx? Well, come through. The women's team here won 2 national championships back to back. We're placing girls and guys in Division I and Division II programs.
Wow.
We're graduating student athletes every single year.
Wow.
And then the kids who went here years ago decided that they wanted to come back. We reached out, brought them back to get them back enrolled so that way they can get their degree and finish their job. Like that's the end goal, making sure that you complete your task. 90% of Americans, we get out there and we want to do so much, but we don't do well in completing tasks.
That's a fact.
So
A
it's
lot of
only
people
1% of billionaires, especially in minority community, because we're not. We start out. I'm opening my own bit. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna do. It's a lot. I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? But the end results, man. Who's gonna give you results?
That's a fact. That's why one of the main things one of the main things we say over here is we try to encourage other people to be the best them that they could be, because at that moment we're being the best us we could be.
Right.
So that's just something that I think that we definitely need to start doing more encouragement, less trying to discourage. You understand what I'm saying? Because like you say, with this internet reality that we live in now, there's just more instances where I could see where people are trying to tear something down rather than to big something up. Because why don't we have more Popeye's chicken sandwich situations? Literally, the chicken sandwich only blew up because somebody texted about it. And what a lot of people don't know is the person that texted about it, that's literally their job, to blow stuff up on the internet. I forgot. I was just reading about the story the other day. So why can't we big up our people like that? Like I'm always saying, one of the things that I'm always saying is there's nothing wrong with going and shopping at your Targets and going and shopping at your Walmarts. But how much of your money are you spending with the mom and pop stores? How much of your money is you spending with the people that's out here? That's basically hustling, that's out here with a regular job. You spending all of your money with the big corporations. Right. I think that we need to find an even.
There's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of times people feel like they're not gonna get the quality at those places. You know
That's
what
a
I'm saying?
fact.
And I think it's fear. Like we're just used to the habit. You know what I'm saying? Like the habit of going to Target, Walmart. I'm going to BJ's. Like
that's a fact.
ShopRite got some good prices.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? But like I'm going to BJ's. You want to buy 3, 4. Yeah, if you got a cookout, go there. If you're having a cookout barbecue, go there. But if you're just shopping for the crib, for your house, go ahead. Right now I have one of our other coaches, his name is Howie Harrison. He just got his principal's license, graduated from Columbia. He's on his second master's degree. You know what I'm saying? How many people have that opportunity? Like, and that's what I mean. It's who you have these kids around. So our conversation, as a coach, I'm gonna be like, yo, listen, man, I was hooping, I was over here, I was on the park, I was killing. Our conversation is fair. I got a degree from Columbia. You know what I'm saying? I went to St. Bonaventure University with a degree. You know what I'm saying? This is the founder of Dykeman basketball. Like, a 30 plus year relationship with a park in the community, man, and with Nike. And you bringing out, mega stars playing on a court where these people from that community will not have money to afford to go to Madison Square Garden. They're Brooklyn Nets. They will not ever get an opportunity or have the money where they're going, Mom, can you take me to WWE? Where they're giving out free tickets. They're giving out Movados, or they're giving out tickets to Summer Jam, whatever, Hot 97 or Power 105, whatever event it is, they have these people in front of them. They're seeing celebrities every day. This is what this one person was able to do for that community. So it's like, you got to kind of put the onus on you and figure out how can you help position, yourself, your family, and the people, that you have an opportunity to meet. How can you help them?
That's a fact.
In life, if you can, and if you can't, you can't. Like,
well, sometimes just getting out of people's way is good help.
Right. So like you said earlier, man, you think you should help everybody. Some people don't like to be helped. Some people it's just gonna be them. And it works. You know what I'm saying? For them. And I think understanding that, if your lane is, if you play basketball, get your lane. If you're one of them people that's a motivational speaker, great job. You know what I'm saying? If you can communicate to somebody, and this, as all you gotta do is affect one person.
Mm.
You know, the masses is hard. That hasn't been done since Martin Luther King and Malcolm. You know what I'm saying? Like to reach the masses. It has actually when Obama was president, and we saw what that looked like. That Washington looked different.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? But you know that's reaching the masses. In our sense, you know, we're gonna reach everyday people.
That's a fact.
And when you do it, how you gonna do it? Just do it being genuine. Don't look for the reward.
It's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? If my boy just said to me the other day, like, yo man, I called him. I was like, yo, little mama told me that she saw you or whatnot, you just treated her to lunch. Like, I was like, yeah, you ain't even called me then. He was like, so why would I treat her? Why would it be me treating her to lunch if I had to call you and tell you I did it? It's like, oh, that's like me having to let you know, yo, I did so and so, so you could give me kudos later.
Yeah.
It's like that's nothing, right? And I was like, yeah, but now I'm just saying things like, yo, they hung up on me. Like, I told you, like, I love you, my dude. You good? Like, you know, so the people that you grew up with might be your friends, but they might not be the people that get you where you need to be.
That's a whole fact.
Right? The people that you meet later on in life will potentially be the people that be in your life forever. You know, and you're always going to have one person that you grew up with that's going to be your right hand, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to spend a lot of time together. You know, so do whatever you can do with your life.
That's a fact.
You know, and, you know, you only have one, so you got to live it to the best of your ability, man. Before you leave your mark.
That's a fact. Hey, anything you want to close out with, my brother?
I just want to say thank you, man. I really appreciate being a part of this, and you know, hopefully, you know, the message that we set out today was just, you know, be yourself. You know, I didn't get into coaching. I didn't get into becoming a juvenile case manager and working and all that to, you know, for my own gratification. I just wanted to make change. I wanted to help people. I just wanted to make sure that people, you know, had an opportunity to, you know, do something positive with their life. Right now, I have a brother that's incarcerated. He's doing a lot of years, and you know, if I can say one thing, that feeling doesn't feel good, especially knowing that you won't see your kid until she's an adult.
Wow.
You know, it's not a good feeling when birthdays come and your family's around and that person's not there. You know, we all experience different pain in life. You know, in 2016, my nephew was murdered, senseless violence at 16 years old. Not that far from where Junior was murdered
Wow.
but on our block and in our neighborhood, and you know, it's funny is that, you know, we're still waiting for his court date. Like, we're still waiting. He's been gone for 4 years almost, and we're still waiting for that closure. And they've been adjourning the case and adjourning. So every family's going to go through something. That trial and tribulation is going to either make you or break you. But, you know, you're going to be able to get through it. Time heals all. And just stay the course. All right? Marquee, Poole, man, thank you for your time. And I really appreciate it. And if you get a chance, come to Hostos Community College. Games are free. You know, come.
When's your next game?
Next game is this Thursday. This Thursday, women's team. I told you, defending national champs, 2-time, first only team in New York to do it.
You know you said Thursday, but you ain't said what time.
The game is 6 o'clock for the women's game, 8 o'clock for the men.
Copy.
And it's free of charge.
Maybe we pop up. Maybe we show up.
Oh yeah, that'll be big. That'll be big.
Yo, appreciate you, my brother.
All right.
We out.
Dope.